Hello, I just wanted to do some quick tips for building handrail. This is a handrail that I'm building right now currently, and I'll show you this to you now. And I was getting to the end and I thought maybe I should do a few tips that help me for building handrails. And I just had to train my guys this today, so I figured it's useful information, why not share. So what we have here is a regular guard railing for a staircase. So this is on a rake. So one of the big things that I like to do is, if you notice right here, you see my line on the table there. That is, so what I do is I figure out what my angle is of the rail, and basically I draw it on the table. And that's one of the most important things, and one of the best and easiest ways to make sure that you build it right. And it also helps you visually as you're building the rail. It helps you to make sure that nothing moves or shifts or anything like that while you're building it. So any kind of lines, correct lines that you can draw on the table, those help. So that's number one. Number two is once you get it fit up, you want to trace your rail. If you have multiple rails to build, you want to trace it, so that way the next one you can literally just lay it on the table and match it up with the lines, and it's just like putting together a puzzle. Another thing is your picket spacing from, so if you notice here where the picket has to be in the middle of the rail. So one of the quick things that I like to do is you figure out the distance that it needs to be up off the table, and you take a picket or whatever. This, in this situation, it actually turned out to be the same distance as that I'm using for my picket, which is a 1/2 inch. So I just used a piece of picket material and I laid it up in there like that before I put my pickets in, and it holds them at the correct height. So that's very, very handy, instead of trying to lift every single one up. And this is really stuff for people that are going to build handrail, whether or not you've ever done it. Like, this is the very basic tip. So I feel like this might be kind of, to a lot of you, veterans out there, this is, no-brainer stuff. But I figure this is, people out there that might need to know this, or might need to build a rail for themselves or for their house. So this is just, some very easy stuff that might help you. Other than that, when you're putting your pickets in, you want to make sure that you get the spacing right. So one of the big things that I like to do is take a separate kind of material, a different kind of material. And in this case, I'm using wood. Aluminum works, or PVC works, or anything like that. And you want to cut it to the right dimension, so that way you can put it in between here and in between here. And what this allows you to do is basically you just slap it up there. Once you get all your pickets cut to the right length and angle, of course, you can basically just throw those boards in there, slap it up to it, tack it, and then go to the next one and the next one. You can cut multiple sets of these, and that will make things a little faster because you can lay out a few at a time. But for me, I just tend to do it like this. So I'll show you how I do it right now. Just like that, guys. Pretty simple. You see how fast that was, and I didn't have to pull out a tape measure, and I know for a fact that everything's perfect because these blocks make sure of it. They're exactly the same size, and everything works together great. So bam, 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 they're tacked up, and then once you get them all tacked in, as you can see, I've got them all tacked in all the way up to the very end down here. you can basically go back and weld them all out. Another part is when you're cutting your pieces, a very important thing to do is label them. If you see right there, I have a letter N on that part. The rest of the labels are probably turned upside down or something of that nature, so you can't see them. But other than the pickets, which the pickets are kind of common sense, you know, unless you have multiple different kinds of rails, you're going to want to label them too. But other than that, all your framework pieces, it's very important to label them, so when you're going to put this thing together, especially if somebody else is cutting, it goes together very nicely and you know what's what. That can get kind of confusing. A lot of times the pieces are close to the same size, and you can really mess up and cause yourself a lot of extra work. So basically, once you get your everything figured out and you get your angles and you get your drawing, what I'd like to do is I go through, and if you can see that, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I go through, and when I make my cuts for my guys, I label them A, B, C, D, E, F, you know, yada yada yada, so that way whenever it goes from the saw to the table, you know what's what, and that saves you a lot of time. Trust me, a lot of time. So this is probably some no-brainer stuff, but I hope this helps. What is another thing I could do? I could tell you. Your welds, when you put your welds on handrail, you always want your welds to be really small, especially on your pickets, and it goes a long way. You don't really want to have big fat welds on handrail. It's not necessary, and it doesn't look good in the long run. Flat welds, which are welds such as right there. See if I can zoom in on that. Which one of my guys just did this with flux core, so it doesn't look great. It's not done with gas and hardwire, so forgive me for how they look. But those welds there that are on the top like that, you want to grind those flat without eating into the rail too much and leaving big abrasion marks. But also this one there, that flat weld there. So all the ones like that, you want to grind those flat, and it really makes a big difference whenever, you know, the aesthetics of the rail after you're complete. It really makes a huge difference. So that helps. Those little tips go a long way. Maybe you got a new welding job and you're a little nervous and you need some tips on how to build a handrail, and I hope this helps you. But if it does, please let me know, because I have lots and lots of information I could do like this, and I've been debating on doing some more videos on how to do this stuff, and you know, I just don't know if there's a big enough audience out there that's interested. But I have a lot of good tips. I've been doing this about 15 years. I've got my own welding and fabrication company. I love doing what I do, and I would be happy to share the information. But you guys just got to let me know that that you're interested, and I would be happy to do that. But other than that, thanks for listening. I hope this helped. This is some simple tips to build some handrail. Have a good day.